The echoes of peace. Krell of the Cernari adjusted his breathing membrane as the human orbital station loomed ahead, a slow-rotating ring of silver and soft light. It hung silently above the blue-green world below, serenely indifferent to the message he carried, a declaration of war. His spindly fingers clutched the data slate tighter. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. For 3 millennia, the Galactic Concord had known only peace. Treaties held. Conflicts dissolved in debate, not blood. Most civilizations had evolved past violence, except, apparently, the Zarketh. Their declaration had arrived in a burst of dark energy transmission, bold and archaic. War. Actual war against the humans. The reason? A fabricated border violation. Everyone knew it was an excuse. The Zarketh wanted to test the old legends. Krell's people had urged the Concord to act, but bureaucracy faltered. Only one thing was certain now. The peace was broken, and he had been chosen to deliver the news. The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing 2 humans. They wore loose robes of white and green, marked with silver glyphs of peace and hospitality. They smiled as he entered. "Welcome, Envoy Krell," one said, bowing slightly. "I'm Isara. This is Rowan. You honor us." Krell inclined his head. "The honor is mine," he said automatically, though his throat was tight. He followed them through curving halls that pulsed with warm light, walls alive with bioluminescent art. Every space whispered calm. No soldiers, no weapons, no alarms. It made the weight of his message feel even heavier. They brought him to a circular chamber lined with tall windows, where 6 humans sat at a polished obsidian table. Behind them, Earth shone like a dream. The gravity was light. So was the mood. He stood, center stage, and cleared his throat. "I bring news from the Concord," he began, voice even. "I regret to inform you that the species known as the Zarketh have officially declared war on humanity." He let the words hang, ready for the sharp intake of breath, the fear, the calls to evacuate, to mobilize. Instead, laughter. Not cruel, not mocking. Genuine, warm laughter. The woman at the head of the table leaned back, grinning. "Really? Took someone long enough." Krell blinked. "You are not alarmed?" One of the men chuckled. "Envoy, we've lived in peace for 3,000 years. That doesn't mean we forgot everything else. We assumed you were demilitarized." The humans exchanged amused glances. "Not quite. We demilitarized the surface of things," said Isara. "Not the mind. Not the soul." Another spoke up, older, gray at the temples. "Do you know why peace lasted this long, Krell? It wasn't because we couldn't fight. It's because everyone knew what would happen if we did." Krell felt his skin flush violet, a Cernari sign of unease. "Forgive me, but the Concord has long believed humans evolved past violence." The humans laughed again, quieter this time. The gray-haired one gestured to the window. "That's what they wanted everyone to believe. Let the galaxy relax. Let war fade into myth. Meanwhile, we trained, simulated, adapted, quietly." Isara leaned forward. "You're a diplomat. Tell us, what does your gut say the Zarketh expect?" Krell hesitated. "They believe you are soft. Philosophers. Artists. They think this war will be easy." "Good," said Rowan. "Let them think that for a few more days." Krell was silent. Everything he believed, everything the Concord had told him about humans, was being upended. Not bloodthirsty, no, but prepared, calm, dangerous. "But why laugh?" he asked finally. "Why not respond with anger or fear?" The old man smiled. "Because this is the oldest joke in the galaxy, Krell. Someone pokes the bear and thinks it's still sleeping." Another joined in. The 3,000-year peace was real. But peace was never the absence of war. It was the presence of readiness and mercy. Krell stood there, still holding the data slate, feeling the floor gently rotate beneath him. He'd come to deliver dread. Instead, he had delivered permission, and the humans were amused. The forgotten giants. Krell remained on the station longer than planned. The humans insisted, not out of manipulation or control. They were simply courteous hosts, polite, calm, and entirely too cheerful for a species on the brink of war. On the 3rd day, they took him to the vault. It wasn't listed on any station maps. There were no guards posted. Just a long tunnel carved from asteroid stone, lit by ancient filament bulbs humming with age. Dust lingered in the air, even though no human lived here. It smelled like history. At the end stood a door. A plain steel slab, 3 meters thick, no markings. Rowan stepped forward. "AI, identify," he said. A smooth voice replied from nowhere. Identity confirmed. Rowan Elias, Council Rank 4. Access granted. The door slid open without a sound. Beyond it was a cathedral of steel. Massive walls lined with dormant machines. Armor suits, shaped like giants, 7 meters tall, stood motionless in alcoves. They were beautiful in a brutal way, sculpted from blackened alloys, laced with nanofiber muscles and etched with glowing symbols. Krell walked between them, reverent. "Are these war frames?" Isara nodded. "They are the Titans, last activated during the Storm Rebellions. That was 2,800 years ago, give or take. Why keep them?" Krell asked, astonished. The Concord banned war machines. The old man from the council, whose name Krell had learned was Tanis, stepped forward. "They banned their use, not their existence. We signed every treaty, but we never erased who we were." He gestured to a nearby console. "Run archive, protocol alpha." The lights dimmed. A projection flickered to life in the air. A glowing blue earth, then hundreds of red lines streaking away from it into the stars. Each line ended in a small circle. "Outposts?" Krell asked. "No," Isara said. "Vaults." Each circle represented a cache. Dormant facilities spread across star systems, hidden under ice moons, inside asteroids, buried in gas giants. Each held weapons, warframes, training hubs, AIs. All offline, all forgotten, except by humanity. Krell's jaw clenched. "You prepared for this?" "Of course," Tanis said. "The moment we agreed to peace, we began preparing for its end. Not because we desired it, but because history demands it eventually." "You trained soldiers?" Rowan gestured again. The wall behind the Titans shimmered, revealing a row of sleek pods. Krell approached one. Inside, suspended in fluid, was a human. No, something more. Their eyes moved beneath closed lids. Muscles twitched. Neural patterns flickered on nearby monitors. "They've lived thousands of lives in simulation," Isara said. "Fought every kind of enemy we could imagine. Time flows differently inside. 1 year outside, 100 inside." "You created post-war minds," Krell whispered. "Enhanced, not replaced," Rowan corrected. "These are volunteers. Artists, scholars, poets. But we made sure they could become warriors again. Because we knew peace doesn't last forever." Krell felt cold. "Why tell me this?" "Because you need to understand what the Zarketh have truly done," Tanis said. "They haven't awakened some sleeping monster. They've reminded us of who we are." The room fell silent. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of distant machines. Then Krell spoke, quieter now. "The Concord believes humanity is peaceful." "We are," Isara said gently. But peace was never naivety. It was a choice. Every day, for 3,000 years, we chose not to wield what we had. Tanis turned to him. "Now we choose differently." Krell looked again at the slumbering warriors. Their peaceful expressions were almost serene. In a strange way, they reminded him of monks. But he knew now this was not pacifism. This was discipline, patience, mercy wrapped around steel. "They will come soon," Krell said. "The Zarketh, with full force." "Let them," Rowan replied, a hint of grim satisfaction in his voice. "We won't start this war, but we'll end it. The war that wasn't." The Zarketh came fast. Their fleets tore through the outer trade routes in a matter of hours. Spike-shaped bio-ships, pulsing with green ichor, leaving shattered comm buoys and drifting debris fields in their wake. They didn't hide. They broadcast their arrival across public galactic channels. "Humanity shall be broken. The Concord's weak lamb shall fall." It was loud, theatrical, and it was met with silence. At first, then laughter. On every human channel, every open frequency, someone was laughing. Not mocking, not mad, just amused, like someone hearing a long-forgotten punchline. And then the humans moved. Not en masse. No mass mobilization. No fleets screaming through hyperspace. No alarms. Instead, precision. One by one, the vaults awoke. Krell watched from a Concorde relay station, his hands clenched behind his back. The Zarketh had targeted the Tau Velan system, a quiet hub of terraformed moons and unarmed research stations. No defenses. No military assets. Easy prey. Or so it seemed. When the Zarketh fleet dropped out of FTL, ready to harvest, they found nothing but empty orbits. For 3 minutes, they scanned. And in the 4th, they died. From the shadows of Tau Velan's smallest moon, Aegis Protocol activated. A single human stealth cruiser, black as void and cold as interstellar silence, launched 6 metallic orbs. They drifted lazily toward the Zarketh, unarmed, unthreatening, until they weren't. Each orb unfolded like a flower, revealing war as older than the Concorde. They had no crew, no delay, no mercy. In 62 seconds, half the Zarketh fleet was gone, ripped apart by gravity folds, neural disruption bursts, and hull-piercing nanolenses. The remaining ships fired back, but the humans had already moved. Post-human soldiers, those sleeping monks from the vaults, teleported into the enemy command vessel, bypassing shields, slitting through bulkheads with phase blades that shimmered like sunlight. They moved like ghosts, coordinated by silent thought. No sound, no cruelty, just efficiency. 12 Zarketh warlords fell without a single human word spoken. Krell turned away from the broadcast, shaken. He wasn't the only one. All across the Concorde, species watched the data feeds, ships disintegrating, entire Zarketh formations outmaneuvered by a fraction of a second. Human tech moved before enemy weapons even fired. How is this possible? An Ulith ambassador whispered at his side. Krell didn't answer. He already knew. The humans weren't fighting a war. They were ending it. Back on the orbital station above Earth, Tanis sat in a garden of wind chimes and citrus trees, sipping tea. A hollow floated before him, showing real-time tactical data in glowing orange glyphs. Behind him, Isara leaned on a balcony rail, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them. The Zarketh have lost 2/3 of their fleet, she said. They're calling for reinforcements. They won't arrive, Tanis replied. We've already blockaded the Archon spines. Fleet 7 intercepted their relays. Do we push deeper? No. We hold. Offer surrender. 3 times, as the old code demands. And if they refuse, then we remind them a 4th time. Isara smiled faintly. Mercy before force. Always, Tanis said. Even now. Krell stood again before the Human Council that evening. The mood was unchanged, quiet, steady. No celebration. No fury. Just the same deep stillness he had come to recognize as distinctly human. You could have annihilated them, he said quietly. Tanis nodded. We still could. But you won't. We remember our own darkness too well, Isara said. We know what we're capable of. That's why we stop where others don't. You fight like artists, Krell whispered. Not warriors. Rowan gave a soft laugh. That's because to us, war is not glory. It's an ugly poem we edit sparingly. Krell looked away. In just one day, the Zarketh had been broken, not by overwhelming numbers, but by restraint wrapped in power. He had come to warn them of war. They had responded with a masterclass in mercy. And the rest of the galaxy was watching. Laughter echoes across the stars. The war ended on the 12th day. Not with a grand battle or a decisive strike, but with silence. The Zarketh sent no more ships. Their final broadcast was a fractured plea. We surrender. Mercy. We did not understand. Humanity answered not with vengeance, but with a quiet message beamed across every Concorde channel. We accept your surrender. Stand down. Return home. Learn. No parades followed. No planets erupted in celebration. Instead, humanity did what it had always done best, reflected. On the orbital station, Krell walked the gardens with Isara, the weight of the last 2 weeks etched into every step. The Concorde is in chaos, he said. Every species is questioning their assumptions. Some are afraid. Others are inspired. Isara nodded. Peace built on naivety always fractures. Maybe this time we build it with eyes open. You knew this would happen. We didn't know, she replied. We prepared. That's all. Peace is not a gift. It's a responsibility. They passed a group of human children laughing as they kicked a floating sphere between them. One child recited names. Earth generals, philosophers, poets. Another answered with ancient strategies and chess terms. Playful but layered. Krell watched them. Even your young are trained. Isara smiled. Trained to think, to adapt. We teach them peace first, but we also teach them what it takes to keep it. He was quiet for a while. Then he asked, do you regret waking the Titans? She didn't answer immediately. No, she said at last. I regret that they needed a wake. But no one was hurt who didn't choose violence first. That matters. In the Concord Hall of Species, Krell stood before the Grand Chamber. 1,000 delegates watched him, some from aquatic tanks, some from crystalline perches. Others hovered in silence. His report was simple, clear, but it ended with words he hadn't written until the final night aboard the station. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not mistake laughter for naivety. Humanity is not what they once were, because they are more. They chose peace not because they forgot war, but because they remember it too well. And when pushed, they did not roar. They smiled. His speech ended in silence. And then, for the first time in a long while, the Concord stood, not in fear, but in respect. A week later, the Zarketh homeworld was opened to neutral observers. Human envoys walked side by side with Zarketh citizens through shattered temples and burnt soil. There was no occupation, no flag raising, no demand for reparations. Only aid, only rebuilding. A single message was carved onto the walls of the first rebuilt city, in both human and Zarketh script. Peace is earned every day. On Earth, in a quiet room beneath an old library, Tanis sat alone with a thin tablet. He watched old footage, grainy, color-shifted videos from millennia ago. Wars on Earth, great empires rising and falling. Pain, triumph, ruin. He exhaled and tapped in a message to the Vault AI. Begin deactivation sequence. Secure protocols. Let them sleep again. The Titans, now stationed across key human colonies, stood down. Their cores dimmed. War minds returned to rest. And humanity, once again, folded its sword. Krell returned to Cernari Prime to a hero's welcome. Not because he had fought, but because he had listened and brought back truth. He began work on a cultural initiative across the Concord. Mutual memory exchanges. Simulated histories, shared VRs, open libraries. He called the program the Laughter Accord, a name that drew some confusion until people began to understand the joke. In a small school orbiting Saturn, a human girl sat across from a young Yulith boy. Their teacher asked, "What does peace mean to you?" The girl raised her hand. "It means knowing how to fight and choosing not to." The Yulith boy added, "And teaching others to do the same." The teacher smiled. Exactly. Outside the classroom, drifting silently beyond the station's shields, a single Titan stood like a statue in deep orbit, powered down, dormant, watching. Just in case.